What's up everybody, Commander Sanctum here, and today we have a brand new deck tech using Ghost Spider Gwen Stacy. Gwen is a 4/4 spider human hero for 3 red that has menace, and whenever she attacks, she deals X damage to defending player, where X is the number of attacking creatures. Needless to say, Gwen really loves having a large army to attack with. For this deck tech, we'll be playing heavily into this, by using a bunch of token generators, some that specifically have haste, and another neat little trick in the pseudo-mobilize mechanic of having creatures enter tapped and attacking. This can work for us since Gwen cares specifically about attacking creatures, not whether or not they initiated an attack, meaning we can stack triggers appropriately to get the most out of our Gwen. With that, let's get into the card highlights. To start out with, we'll look at the cards that create tokens in an attacking state. This works due to the ability for us to stack our triggers in whatever way we want. As long as Gwen's attack trigger is put on the stack first, thus making it resolve last, all the tokens that were created tapped and attacking will be seen as attacking creatures to Gwen, since the number of attacking creatures are counted at the resolution of the ability. For this, we have Handwear Garrison and Anduril Flame of the West, both of which will give us at least 2 attacking creatures when they're attacked with. Anduril can give 3 tokens if it's equipped to a legendary creature, and since we want to attack with Gwen anyways, works perfectly for us. Tilonali's Summoner can make as many tokens as we can pay for, making it a super great finisher for the late game, when we naturally have more mana and opponents generally have less life. We also have a few creatures that will create tokens of other creatures whenever they attack. Flame Rush Rider is the most basic example of this, creating a token of an attacking creature whenever it itself attacks. Delina Wild Mage takes this a step further by letting you potentially get more than 1 token depending on how well you can roll a d20, and even makes the copy non-legendary. Unfortunately, this won't work with Gwen that well, since the created tokens won't be declared as an attacker, preventing you from getting another copy of Gwen's ability. Still, it does create 1 or more attacking creatures, so it's still beneficial. Redoubled Stormsinger is another one that will benefit from appropriately stacking triggers. By putting this trigger on the stack second, after Gwen, it will hopefully resolve after all the other token creators have, letting you basically get double the number of attackers you had just gotten. Karizev Skyship Raider is another efficient creature that makes a tapped and attacking token in the form of Ragavan, whenever she attacks. General Kriet the Boltbringer does this as well whenever it or another goblin attacks. Unfortunately, due to how the ability is worded, you'll only ever get 1 token from her no matter how many goblins you attack with, but where she really shines is her other ability. Since the creature entering ability counts tokens, you'll likely be able to do a ton of damage with Kriet whenever she's out, since you'll naturally be making a good number of tokens every turn anyways. Infantry Shield has the mobilize mechanic, with the mobilize number being equal to the equipped creature's power. Put this thing on Gwen or some other larger creature and you'll be making a ton of tokens all at once, simply from attacking with a single creature. Instead of tokens, Ilharg the Razeboar and Arni Metalbrow let you put creature cards from your hand into play tapped and attacking, if certain criteria are met. For Ilharg, all you have to do is simply attack with them, whereas Arni requires you to pay mana and for the creature to have a mana value less than the attacking creature. Still, Arni isn't limited to 1 creature, making for a very effective way to get good creatures out for cheaper than they might actually be. Up next we have spells that create creature tokens for us, but explicitly give them haste as well. This is beneficial since we can immediately attack with them and don't need to wait a turn cycle to actually get use out of them, which will be especially important when we're quickly burning people out with Gwen's ability. Song of Totentans and Firecat Blitz give us a self-determined number of rats and cats, respectively, for a very cheap initial cost. There'll be some of the best ways to get a burst of attackers out all at once to finish someone off with Gwen's ability. Tenth with Vengeance does the same thing, but takes it a step further, since it allows you to get even more tokens if any other players decide to make some tokens of their own. While players may be unlikely to actually take the tokens since we're using Gwen, you may be able to politic 1 or 2 players into taking the deal, making it a fun card to play with. Devastating Onslaught is a spell that creates tokens of a creature you control, but unlike the one we saw earlier, these aren't tapped and attacking. This is infinitely better for us, since it allows us to actually get benefit off of those copied creatures if they have attack triggers, which more than makes up for the spell's generally high casting cost. Chandra Acolyte of Flame is a modular spell that can get us hasted creature tokens every turn, or let us recast some of our best cheap spells again. Rionia Fire Dancer gets better in a more dedicated Spellslinger deck, but can still do work here since we still have access to a number of spells. Like Devastating Onslaught, the fact that these copied tokens don't enter tapped and attacking is great for us, since it allows us to benefit from their attack triggers if they have any. To try and get critical mass of things we can attack with, we also have some options for non-naturally hasted or attacking tokens as well. Since we're mono red, you know what that means: goblins. Goblins are by far the best creature type in red for making a large army of small creatures, which is exactly what we want to do. For cards that need no real introduction for this, we have Krenko Mob Boss and Krenko Tin Street Kingpin, two of the best goblin commanders out there. There's also Siege Gang Lieutenant, which will both make us tokens as long as we have Gwen out, and let us use them as fodder to ping off creatures if need be. Beetleback Chief is another goblin that makes us additional goblins at an efficient rate, alongside Goblin Offensive, which can net us a large number of tokens all at once, depending on how much mana we can put into it. Again, these tokens won't have haste without some help, so they need to survive a turn cycle to really get any benefit out of them. But they do provide for a good damage boost if they survive, making them good includes. Speaking of helping out with haste, we have a number of good cards that I like to call enablers for our overall strategy. First up, we have the cards that give our creatures haste, especially important for the aforementioned goblin cards. Purphoros Bronze-Blooded not only gives our creatures haste, but also lets us sneak attack a creature in, letting us get in a much needed blocker or cheat out a more expensive attacker card for a turn. Ogre Battle Driver is an absolute monster with tokens, since it not only gives them haste, but also a whopping 2 power bonus for the turn. Pair that with something like Goblin Offensive, and you'll have a huge army that can likely kill someone outright on their own. Akroma's Memorial gives our creatures a plethora of keywords, including Haste and Vigilance, two of the more important ones for a deck that's all about attacking with everything. Angel's Trumpet is an artifact that gives all creatures Vigilance, which unfortunately includes your opponents, but can act as another damage source for players playing a bit more passively. Since we're all about attacking with as much as possible as quick as possible, Angel's Trumpet is unlikely to hurt us very much, making it a very good thematic card for us to use. Since we're focused so heavily on attack triggers, playing cards that give us extra combat steps makes sense. Not just any extra combat cards will work, however. We specifically need the ones that untap all of our creatures, not just a single one, since our goal is to attack with as much as possible. For this, we have Overpowering Attack and Aggravated Assault, two cards that let us pay some mana to get another combat step in while also untapping all of our creatures. Aggravated Assault can even be activated multiple times for multiple combats, so long as you have the mana to pay for it, making for a very efficient way of getting more damage in. Speaking of multiple combats, Port Razor also lets us do that, so long as it can hit different opponents each time. While this is definitely harder to do than activating Aggravated Assault multiple times, it's still a great way to get multiple combats in a number of different scenarios. Full Throttle is a card that naturally gives you a whopping 2 additional combat phases, while also untapping all of your creatures each time. For 6 mana, this is a huge amount of advantage that is far too good to pass up in a deck like this. Grim Reaper's Sprint is a very cost-effective way to get an extra combat while also buffing one of your creatures, likely Gwen in most cases. At least one token dying in combat is very likely going to happen, so you should be able to cast it for its morbid cost in more cases than not. To really push through the burn damage with this deck, there are a few ways we can get additional benefit from all the tokens we'll be making. Impact Tremors is going to be a powerhouse in such a deck, since we'll be constantly making a ton of tokens, hopefully, each turn. A lot of those tokens are temporary as well, either being sacrificed at the end of combat or the turn, so why not get some extra damage out of them? Goblin Bombardment is a great way to do this, since you'll be able to turn the tokens into extra damage when they were going to go out anyways. Finally, there are some good utility cards that work well with the overall theme of the deck. Since we're mono red, our land ramp is going to be virtually non-existent. To help with this, we have Wayfarer's Bauble and Solemn Simulacrum, both great ways to get a basic land out onto the battlefield. The Simulacrum is even a good target for some of the copy effects we have, letting us get out even more lands with it than normal. Mana Geyser is the absolute best ramp option for red, since it'll consistently get you 10 plus mana mid to late game. Pair this with something like a Song of Totentans, and you'll be able to burst out a huge amount of damage with little effort. Lightning Greaves is going to be important in this deck, to both protect your Gwen from targeted removal, as well as giving her haste, letting you immediately attack with her and trigger her ability if she dies and had to be recast. The Fire Crystal is a bit like an all-in-one package for us. It makes our spells cheaper, it gives our creatures haste, and it can even create a token copy of one of our creatures, pretty much everything we want in a deck like this. Since we want to be all-out attacking in this deck, we need to make sure that we can do so even if the board is disadvantageous to us doing so. To help with this, we have Dolmen Gate and Bubble Matrix, two cards that can prevent all damage done to our attacking creatures. Bubble Matrix takes us quite a bit further, reducing damage to all creatures at all times to 0. While this may help our opponents out in some situations, it's too good for us and our strategy to really pass up. Here's an example deck list utilizing all the previously mentioned cards. Additional cards include more hasted token generators in Elemental Mastery and Sokenzan Crucible of Defiance, a ramp card drop package in Unexpected Windfall and Inspired Tinkering, and mana-based artifact utility in Cursed Mirror and Ruby Medallion. I'm a big fan of mono red decks, and Ghost Spider Gwen Stacy is no exception. While attacking all out is nothing new for red, I do think that the way Gwen incentivizes it is a fun take on doing so. There's a fun strategy in figuring out who to attack with her to both deal the most damage while keeping her alive, and who to attack with the army of tokens at your disposal. I also do really like the idea of focusing more so on abilities that create creature tokens tapped and attacking, since they still work with Gwen's ability thanks to how the stack and spell resolution work. Just like with any mono red deck, there will be drawbacks. Things like enchantment heavy decks will still be the bane of our existence. The lack of great card draw and land ramp is certainly hurtful, and the inability to really deal with creatures that are absolutely huge outside of a few spells is detrimental. But these are the sorts of things you just accept when you go in with the mono red deck. There's nothing super new or creative with Gwen when it comes to a red deck, but I still think the overall strategy and building of Gwen makes her a fun commander to try out. I hope you enjoyed watching this deck tech on Ghost Spider Gwen Stacy. The full deck list outlined in this video can be found at the Architect link at the top of the description. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to drop a like and comment, as well as subscribe to the channel for more Magic content. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.